Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of the Biography podcast. This one's with Randy Holden. Randy is a phenomenal guitar player. He played in Blue Cheer, The Other Half, and some other garage and surf bands in the 60s. He had his own solo project called Population 2 that was phenomenal, but never got an official release. And so we talk about all that stuff in this podcast. He has some fascinating stories, things I never knew about him. He's a huge influence on me, a huge inspiration to me as a guitar player. He's just a phenomenal person. He's an artist, all that stuff. So I won't ruin it for you. There's a lot there, but me and Randy we talked for 2 hours. I cut it down to 45 minutes because we went into some serious nerd talk with guitars, just about all these different guitars and amps and pedals and all that stuff. And which he's super passionate about, so am I. So I had a great time talking to him. But I'll just explain the video. As you go into it, it'll just be me talking to him on the phone. And then I throw up some pictures and video clips and stuff during the duration of the interview, so you guys aren't just staring at me the whole time. So just stay tuned for that. If you guys would rather hear it in podcast format so you can listen to it on your headphones or whatever, head on over to iTunes. I'll have the link to that in the description of this video. You can check that out. And while you're over there, if you get a chance, it would really help us out if you left us a good review on iTunes. That would kind of help us just keep the thing going. So that just would mean the world to me if you could do that. If you like that, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to our podcast, and hope you guys really enjoyed this episode because I really did. So anyways, without further ado, here's Randy Holden. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Randy, can you hear me well?
Yeah.
This is Dylan from the Biography podcast I talked to you earlier.
Oh, hi, Dylan.
I just want to talk to you a little bit about, just some of the records you played on and things like that. Before we get started, I was just going to ask, do you collect records or anything like that?
Do I collect records?
Yeah. Do you have any?
No, I don't collect records.
Yeah, a lot of people that collect records that I know of that collect, the type of music that you played, like the psychedelic rock and stuff, you're highly regarded on those. So, do you have any of the records that you played on?
That I played on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much have those.
I'll just get right into it then. So you played, you started playing guitar at a really young age, right?
Pretty young, yeah.
So your first band was the Iridescence, and you were what, 12 years old?
No, I think I was 14 now.
So who were some of your influences during that time?
Oh, Lord. Dwayne Eddy, The Ventures, several lesser-known instrumental bands. Who else? You dig deep through the jungle of memory. We played a lot of disc jockey weekend dance shows, and we played the Marine base in where was that? Arlington, Virginia. We did that every other weekend. That was a good gig. That's cool. Clubs when I was about 15.
Oh wow! Well,
after Iridescence, I started getting club gigs.
So were you? Is that with Fender 4?
That was before Fender 4, but after Sons of Adam. I'm getting confused.
Iridescence.
Yeah, Iridescence before Fender 4.
Well, so when did you start recording it? Did you record anything with Iridescence?
Actually, we did record a couple of pieces, but they're long gone.
That's a shame.
And it was in some funky little studio that barely qualifies as a studio. But we had an acetate of it.
So Fender 4 and Sons of Adam was pretty much the same band, right?
Yeah, basically a change of drummers and a shift in music style.
Yeah. So you were playing like surf music.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were, when you had you were playing. What type of guitar were you playing then? I've seen you with pictures with the Jazz Master.
After the Silvertone Grand Electro, I had a Stratocaster. That was a really nice guitar. Boy, I loved that thing. Yeah. And then the store that used to extend me credit when I was a kid, they got in I think it was a burgundy Miss Metallic gold-plated Jaguar. And I was like, wow, one of a kind, first in its, I had to have it. So that was my next guitar. And I had that for a few years, and then I had it refinished to be a purple and silver metal flake sunburst, which was really cool looking. Yeah, that sounds cool looking.
So do you still have any of these guitars?
Oh, no. All my guitars disappeared over the years. Some few years later, I moved to a Jazz Master, and that was a huge mistake. I ended up just hating that guitar.
Well, they're pretty iconic with surf. It seems like you see them being played with surf music.
Yeah, they might have been okay for that. When I first saw them, I thought they were beautiful. Yeah. When I was a kid, I had a very early Fender catalog that had the Jazz Master and the Stratocaster in it, and I drooled over that at cereal in the morning.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted one, but those are really, really, really nice guitars. They look nice, but you weren't happy with the sound on them. That wasn't what you were looking for.
And not the Jazz Master. Somehow or other I thought it had a longer neck, and I have large hands, so I thought maybe it would be easier for me to play. But that just wasn't the case at all. And the tone on it was too muted. It had no sustain at all.
So when you were with Sons of Adam, you opened for the Stones, right? At some point?
Yeah.
How was that? Did you get to hang out with them at all? Or so is Keith an influence of yours? Did you get to talk to him much?
He wasn't really an influence in my playing. What interested me was he had a Les Paul Gibson, and he had a Fender dual Showman amp. His blew up right before we went on stage, so he borrowed one of ours.
Oh wow!
That was our amps, so we used since they first came out. But what I noticed was the sustain, that he got a great sound between the Gibson guitar and the Fender amp, and I really liked that. It was totally different, even though we played a lot of the same Chuck Berry songs. He got a really nice sustain. That educated me to some differences in tones between guitar and amp matches, and it seemed to me that the Gibson was a mid-range sound, where the Fender amps were a top and bottom end sound. So they meshed really well. Oh yeah. But a Fender guitar with a Fender amp was all top and bottom and no mid-range at all. So,
I mean, it seems like you're pretty particular about your tone, which is super important for a guitar player.
That's everything. Yeah, everything is in the tone. Yeah. You have a lousy tone, you can't play worth crap. Yeah.
So when you played on the Other Half record,
worst tone I ever had in my life.
It's funny that you say that, because I love it. I mean, I love that record. I think that your playing kind of stands on its own. I mean, it sounds incredible to me, but I understand that you
a lot of people like it. I can't say that I understand why. I liked it when I didn't really like my sound when I was doing it either. We were a pretty good band though. But I didn't care for this end. The album just turned out horrible. We were in a lousy recording studios, and I never had a thing to do with the mix and the production. Other people did things that just later made me want to throw up. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, a lot of people really like it. And I think the one thing on that album that stands out, I don't think people would like it so much if you weren't on it. So to me, that's what stands out. on that album. So, so you still had the Jazzmaster, right, at that time?
Yeah.
So did you kind of trade it in after that album?
I lived in an apartment behind the Palladium Theater. Was that the name of it? The Hollow Blue or something like that, where the Hair show came to L.A. and was on for an extended period of time. But it was a great forum venue. Mm-hmm. And Love was going to play one night, and I knew all the guys, and something happened. Johnny Eccles didn't show up, so they asked me to sit in.
Oh, wow.
And I was right across the street from the music store, and so I went over and I asked if I could borrow a Gibson SG for the show, and they let me, and I just loved playing that thing, and it sounded really great through my dual Showmans. Yeah. So it was a great performance that night. The audience, we tore the house down. From that point on, all I could think of was getting an SG, and then somehow it came about that I joined up with Blue Cheer, and the first thing I got was the SG I wanted, and I got a couple of Marshall stacks of amps I switched the speakers out in them and put in JBL B120s, which were much more powerful and clear, and the sound, I got a really great sound out of it for stage.
Well, so you played in with Love that night. I'm trying to think about. That's incredible. I wish I could hear that show. That sounds great. I mean, it sounds like
it would have made a great recording. It was a really great show.
So when you went to Blue Cheer, did you how did you get into that situation? Did they have tryouts, or did you know the guys and kind of?
Actually, I was trying to get another band together with my former bass player from the Sons of Adam, Mike Port, and I knew the guy that promoted the shows at the Shrine Auditorium, a guy named Sepp. I don't remember his last name, but very nice guy. And he had Jeff Beck with when he first came out with Rod Stewart. They did their debut there, and so I wanted to go see that because I always had a lot of respect for Jeff Beck, and I thought he was going to be really, really great. And Blue Cheer was on the bill too, and I was surprised because they had top bill over Jeff Beck. I accept. Why'd you do that? They don't hold a candle, Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck's a far bigger name. And he said, well, he just likes Blue Cheer. So, okay. So anyhow, I went down to the show to see Jeff Beck. I already knew who Blue Cheer was, and we played same gigs together a few times when I was with the other half. And I didn't really care a lot for Blue Cheer.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. So when Jeff Beck went on, the band was really good and really tight, and Jeff played really articulately, but he seemed really withdrawn and withheld. And I was kind of like really disappointed because he used to be a very fiery, exciting guitarist. He wasn't laid back, and he became very laid back. He was playing more complicated, you might say, when he did the Truth album. But it didn't have that real exciting, fiery nature that he previously had. So I wasn't all that thrilled. And then Blue Cheer came on, and they opened with a song called Just a Little Bit. I was just writing a friend about that this morning. And Paul Whaley does this really unique drum rhythm in that song. And so it opens up with the drums. And it was just thunderous. I went, holy crap, there's my drummer. I told Mike, I said, that's our drummer right there. And I knew Paul already, but I knew he was a good drummer back then too. As a matter of fact, before Blue Cheer, he said he wanted to join the Sons of Adam, but he was afraid to ask because he thought we'd say no because we already had a good drummer with Mike Stewart. But when I heard Paul that night, I just went, wow, he's the guy I need for drums. So when they got off stage from their set, I went back to the dressing room and found Paul, and I said, "Hey, I've got a new band I'm starting. I want you to be a drummer in it." I said, "Blue Cheers, they had their hit "Summertime Blues," but it's a one-hit wonder."
Yeah.
And so it wound up that he talked with Jerry, the manager, and it was set up for us to jam at the Shrine the next afternoon, Paul and Mike Court and myself. And much to my astonishment, Mike was not performing as I always knew him to do, because he was a great bass player at one time, but he wasn't pulling it off at all, and he couldn't play with Paul at all. I was going, what the hell is going on? And I was really surprised. I couldn't believe it. But Paul and I played together like hand in glove. We just really got off.
Oh, yeah.
And so after we jammed for an hour or so, Jerry and Paul went off to talk, and they came back and they said, well, we don't want Mike. We don't care for how he plays. And so instead of Paul joining up with you, we want you to come join Blue Cheer. That was a real surprise. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
So I told him I had to think about it a bit. And previous to that, Mike had an opportunity to join up with Steppenwolf, and he was going to take it. And then I thought, well, that put a question of his loyalty to the test, and so I decided I was going to take the Blue Cheer gig. And I thought maybe I could turn Blue Cheer into something that I really liked.
Yeah.
And we became really good.
Yeah, you did. Side 2 of New Improved, you wrote that whole side, didn't you?
Yeah. What happened was, after the tour was over and we were in the studio, I was to receive the money for my tour earnings.
Uh-huh.
And I was supposed to get $16,000. And the manager came over to my apartment and handed me an envelope, and it had $500 cash in it.
Oh gosh.
And they said it was supposed to, first off, they used my money to pay the band's back taxes before I was involved with them. And I was like, okay, I can kind of see that if we've got something that's going to mean something going on.
Yeah.
But they said they were going to give me $1,000 cash. That's all there was. So when he came and handed me the envelope and it had $500 in it, I looked at Jerry and I thought, you're nothing but a damn thief, man. I'm done with this. It's over. So I said, I'm not finishing the album. I don't give a damn what you guys do. It's over for me.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with Blue Cheer. Horrible financial management. The money just disappeared. And drugs took precedence over music. And I was not into drugs. And I tried to get them out of the band, but I didn't succeed. And so that ended that. And then so they did everything they could to diminish my presence. So they put me on side 2, and they had no photos of me on the album. It was just a mess. I mean, frankly, I never even thought they were going to release the album. I actually never gave them permission. I never had a contract. I wasn't under contract for anything for anyone.
Wow. So you never even got paid for the album?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I got paid royalties, but first I wasn't even going to get the royalties. And so I went to our CPA, high-powered outfit up in Beverly Hills, and I told them, I said, look, we've sold over 100,000 albums. It takes a minimum of 100,000 just to get on Billboard top 100 list, and we were up to number 84, and they haven't paid me a penny.
Wow.
So he said, I'll take care of that. And I should have received $12,000 minimum at the then going rate of 2 cents per song for publishing and 2 cents a song for writing. So Hal contacted him and said, Hal Katz was his name, the little Jewish fellow. And he said, well, you know, if you don't cough up to the $12,000 right now, I'm going to do a full audit on you guys.
Yeah.
In 2 days, I had a check for $12,000.
Yeah, that's good. Golly, that's really disappointing. I like Blue Cheer a lot, but that, man. Now I'll tell you how I heard of you the first time. I had their first album, Vince Abyss Erupting, and then I was like, man, I kind of like this, and I had gone to a record store and I had seen New Improved, and I grabbed it, took it home, listened to side one, it was okay. Side two, I was blown away. And I was like, well, this guy wrote all the songs on. I wonder who he is. And then I eventually, you know, found out about the other half and Population 2 and all that stuff. But yeah, that's a shame. I mean, in my opinion, you were the best part of Blue Cheer. So
we talked about Blue Cheer a little bit. I had one of my friends told me to ask you. He said he heard an urban legend about Blue Cheer on tour, and he didn't know if it was true. I thought maybe you could tell us if it was true or not. So he said that there's an urban legend that you guys were so loud that you killed a dog during sound check. Is that true?
Oh, God.
Is that true?
No. You know, people love to exaggerate. You know, it's great PR.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was like, man, that's pretty extreme. But he said the way he heard it is that a dog was sleeping in front of your amp on stage, and that when y'all started the sound check, it gave him a heart attack or something.
Oh,
so.
God.
So anyways, well, finally we could put that rumor to bed.
And we turned the air into cottage cheese, too. You needed a fork to eat through it.
I hadn't heard that one.
I killed a cow in a pasture, they say.
That's hilarious. So you, so we talked about Blue Cheer and how they were kind of crooked, and they kind of.
Well, it was the biggest problem was management.
So you had a problem with management and everything. So from there, you went on to doing Population 2, correct?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've heard you talk about, I heard you talk in an interview about lining up a bunch of amps on the LA runway and seeing if you were louder than the plane. Did you ever get a chance to do that?
No, not quite.
Well, I saw that you were, so you were sponsored by Sun Amps, right?
Yeah.
And they gave you like a ton of amplifiers, right?
Yeah, they gave me anything I wanted. They were great.
That's awesome. Yeah, Sun makes some good amps. So
yeah, they made some pretty good stuff then.
So I'm looking at the album not New Improved, Population 2 now. I've got a copy of it, but there's a lot of confusion on its release. So you're on.
It was never officially released. The big problem was the record company would not release the album, and they wouldn't release me from the contract.
So that was Hobbit Records, right?
Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, they just basically killed my career right there.
So what happened? So why wouldn't they release the album?
I never knew. They would never tell me anything. And I could have signed with another label that was interested in me, but they couldn't sign me while I was still signed with Hobbit. And Hobbit wouldn't let me go. It was crazy.
That's terrible. So
it made no sense to me at all.
There are copies of it that are old copies, and they're really, really rare. You know, they're really hard to find, but there are. I think it was released very minimally. So you never heard anything about any of that?
No, I didn't know about it. I heard it was released, I think in '91 I heard about it. Somebody did a release, and I don't know who it was or how it was done or anything. It was done sometime after I was already pushed out of the music business.
So you never got any sort of royalties or anything from that record?
No.
But so, talking a little bit about it, so you just had a drummer. Your drummer, I've heard that he played drums and keyboard at the same time.
Is that correct?
So you go and you record the album, and you're happy with everything, and then the record label just kind of won't release it, won't tell you why, and it just kind of fizzles and nothing ever happened, right?
Yeah, they kept saying another 30 days, but it was all BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, I just went flat out bankrupt.
Golly.
I couldn't pay rent. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I was just locked out.
So what happened after that? What happened, at that point? Did you stop playing or?
Well, frankly, I had no idea what to do with my life because that's all I'd ever done.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to have been the biggest band in rock history, the way I had envisioned it, because nobody had ever done anything close to that crazy at that time.
Yeah.
And it just ended up dead.
Wow.
So I just wanted to go off in some jungle somewhere and get lost.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I ended up going to Hawaii because I figured they spoke English. And where I went at that time, there was hardly anybody there. It was incredible.
Wow.
And I figured I would just become an oil painting artist, and that way nobody could screw with me.
Yeah, I've seen some of your paintings. They're really good. Do you still do that?
I haven't done any in a while.
Okay. So did you work as a painter from then for a while?
I did that for a while, and then some guy wanted me to paint a big yellow tuna on his truck. So, and then he wanted to do a trade for taking me big game fishing. So I did the trade with him, and then his buddy wanted a big marlin painted on his truck. So when they took me out fishing, I just totally fell in love with the ocean.
Wow.
That's all I wanted to do. That's all I could think about. So I got into big game fishing.
Wow.
And it was great. It was the emotional. It had emotional equivalency of playing in front of a bunch of big amps. Did that for the next 12 years.
So you did that professionally?
Yeah.
Wow. What a dream. So you were a musician, then a painter, then a fisherman. That's great.
Different.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what did you do after that?
Well, I ended up having a divorce and having to raise a 1-year-old child.
Wow.
And I wasn't prepared for that. I never imagined anything like that would happen. But I did. And he was just the greatest kid you could ever imagine. And he's 40 now.
Wow.
He's gone with me all over the world. We sailed halfway around the world.
Man.
Back in the late 80s, early 90s.
That's incredible.
We've just done 1,000 things together. Sailing was that was an incredible voyage.
Oh yeah.
We went to several countries and almost died in some storms. I didn't like that part of it.
No. Wow. So that's just incredible to me that you were able to do that. So what did you do? What was your occupation, from the time, I guess, from then till now?
Oh, wow. I've done quite a few things. After the divorce, I moved back east, and I got interested in where money came from. I wanted to learn about money because all of a sudden that was a big deal. I worked a long time to build my own house and have it paid in full in cash. I did that, and I lost it in a fire, which was heartbreaking because it was just beautiful. I was underinsured, so I didn't have the money to replace it. I was wandering around with my 1-year-old kid trying to figure out what I was doing, and I started getting into finances and learning about money and about gold and silver, and I got really interested in that and started trading through one of the big companies, E.F. Hutton it was. I made a lot of money. I couldn't make a mistake. Every day I traded, I made money. It was really bizarre. Well, I knew what I was doing. I don't know how to explain that.
Wow.
And then I broke one of my golden rules. And my ex-wife wanted me to buy her a gift. And I didn't want to do it because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And stupidly, I did anyhow. When I did, I lost a fortune, and I never made any money after that. I lost it all. I thought, that's what you get, you dumbass. You broke your own rule for a stupid reason.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Man.
So then, a week after I lost my last $50,000, I thought, damn, last week I could have gotten a 50-foot sailboat and gone sailing around the world. How stupid am I? So for the next few years, I set my sight on designing and building a big sailboat.
Wow.
And I finally got one that was sinking, and anyhow, I rebuilt it and made it into a beauty queen.
So you tell me about how you got back into music. So you still dabble a little bit and play a little bit here and there, don't you?
After I got out of jail from the false arrest, some guy had spent 4 years trying to hunt me down. I had no clue. And he finally found me. And he was just an avid fan.
Yeah.
First, I thought he must be with the CIA. I didn't trust him because of all the crap I was going through.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a rabid fan. He just wanted me to play guitar and record music again.
Wow.
So I refused to for about a year, and then finally I caved in and I let him send me a guitar. And I picked it up and I fell in love with it all over again.
What kind of guitar did he send you?
He sent me a Hamer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was ugly as sin, but it played really well.
Yeah, Hamers are, that's cool. So tell me about, I've seen pictures and video of you playing a glass guitar. Tell me about that.
Well, that was a guitar that I dreamt of in 1970.
Yes.
My idea was I wanted a glass neck. The theory was it would be much faster than a standard wooden neck, less friction.
Yeah.
But nobody knew how to build anything like that back then. And then through this fan that had followed me down, we became good friends after a period of time. He knew somebody who could build it. So my wife had it built for me for my Christmas present.
Wow. So this fan, are you guys still good friends?
Yeah.
So does it play how you expected it to play?
No.
You like it?
Yeah. It sounded totally different than I expected. I thought it was going to be very brittle sounding like the Dan Armstrong. They were very brittle sounding. That's my description of it. It wasn't. It was very round and warm sounding. I was totally unexpected that. And
Yeah.
I played it until I wore out one of the necks and had to have a new neck made for it. And I've used it quite frequently. It's very heavy.
Yeah. Is it really glass?
It's a plexi acrylic.
Right.
So it's very rubbery.
Yeah. Wow. It looks awesome. I've never seen one like that.
Yeah, it's very cool. There's nothing like it in the world.
Wow.
Very old space age, I guess.
I know you say you play the glass guitar. Do you have any other guitars that you play?
I've got a black Stratocaster that was custom made with has a 22 fret neck that my friend, the guy from the Sons of Adam, Jack Tana, he gave that to me several years ago, and it's really my favorite guitar. It just plays really sweet. It has the neck on it is what's really important.
So do you play any Gibsons at all? Wow. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's funny. I've had luck with Gibsons. I've gotten a couple really cheap over the years. So yeah, they're great guitars, but Strat, nothing plays like a Strat. You know, if you want that sound, you like that sound, and you want a versatile tone, Strat's the one for you. So
Are more versatile. I had the first black SG ever made was custom made for me.
Wow.
Ernie Ball made it, and it was sent to me on tour at Blue Cheer in Boston. And I got to pick it up right before we went on stage, so I didn't have time to set it up or anything. I was really excited to use it, and it was very beautiful. And when I came back off stage, it was gone. Somebody decided to take it.
Oh my gosh,
that was disappointing.
Yeah. So do you play much out now?
No, not very often.
So it sounds like your life, you've had some ups and downs, to say the least.
Extreme mountains and valleys.
Wow. That's an incredible story. I really, but a lot of it I hear is that you're very passionate about your work and you won't settle for anything that's not up to your standards, and I really admire that. It sounds like with all the bands that you've been at, the problem has been that you've wanted to kind of be a trailblazer and you've had a vision for it, So, but yeah.
I've always had something that I wanted to do, and somehow I wasn't linked up with guys that. First, I thought the Sons of Adam were.
Yeah.
But then they started wanting to do other things that was really weird. They started taking drugs. And one of my rules was no drugs in the band. No drugs and no women, because both of them distract you from your mission.
It's true.
It's absolutely true. So I ended up leaving that. When they told me I had to turn down, our golden rule was you never turn down for anyone ever.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we have to turn it down. I said, oh, God. Okay, that's it. Goodbye. Can't do that.
You quit because you refuse to turn down. I like that.
When you use great volume, if you know what you're doing with it, it can be beautiful.
Yeah.
And very exciting, and the audience has always loved it.
Yeah.
I got fired from so many places when I was playing clubs trying to make a living, but the audience would always leave the place and follow wherever we went. So they always regretted firing us.
Yeah.
Because they stopped making money.
So did you want to make psychedelic music, or you just wanted to make like really good, powerful music?
I didn't ever really know what psychedelic music meant.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like a word that it refers to confused jumbling. But I looked up the meaning of the word once, and it actually means breath. Spiritual breath.
Wow.
So I said, okay, well that works because that's where it is. Just always pursued a particular way I wanted something to sound. And the tone was always quiescent among that.
Yeah.
Because if you get a tone, and it's really difficult to achieve a great tone. And you just can't plug any amp and guitar in and play. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah. Electric guitar is very, very broad in what it can do. But to get something that has clarity of sound and great punch when I hit a low E note, I want you to know it.
So, do you have any aspirations of doing much music in the future?
Well, I don't know. My hourglass is getting a little low on sand. I've got several albums actually recorded, and I just have to mix down a few of them I was thinking about. And I just let it sit for a long time because CD sales just went in the tank, and I didn't see a reason to bother finishing it. And I've got some pretty good stuff too.
Yeah. Well, so what are you up to now? What does your daily life look like now?
I write a lot, all kinds of stuff. I do a lot of political commentary.
Okay.
Trying to educate younger people that just don't know.
Yeah.
That was my inspiration. Cool. So I do that a lot. And
cool.
My wife has an art gallery, and I was immersed in that for years and years. And she's just a phenomenal artist. She's the best in the world. There's nobody like her.
Wow.
And she was even commissioned to paint Pope John Paul. So I ended up setting up meetings with the Pope. I never thought I'd be doing anything like that.
Well, you should have played for him with all your Sun amps, like as loud as the LA.
I thought it was interesting when I watch how they do what they do at the Vatican. They actually put on a show. But the interesting part about the whole thing is the audience comes to them. Every week they get between 100,000 to 300,000 people for the audience. They don't have to go on tour.
That's funny.
And what was interesting about it to me was in the early days when Dick Dale had become popular back in the early 60s, his father rented, I think it was the Rendezvous Ballroom, and his audience, the surfer crowd in California, all came to see him perform at his venue.
Yeah.
And then when he took off touring, because Capitol Records wanted to do it, he lost most of his audience. And nobody else in the country knew what the hell surfing was. So it never took off back then.
Wow.
And so he kind of went into obscurity. But he's been back the past few years and touring all over the place. But he's older in hills now. He's 81 and very ill.
So are you living back in California again now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've lived here for years. Nice place. I'm very fortunate that way.
Yeah, well, sounds like you've been through it. You've earned it, you know. So, but I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Sure, always happy to do that.
Yeah, I think I got to hear a lot that the internet only tells so many stories, you know. So it was great to talk to you. So.
Yeah, I've played a couple of live gigs in the past couple of years. I was invited to perform at a surf festival here in California, and that was really fun. I hadn't played my surf songs in 50 years. I didn't even remember. And then I was invited to do a surf festival in Italy, and that was really a blast. And I might play it again this year.
Yeah.
I hope it happens because it was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Well, cool. So you do have some things in the future you're doing with music and stuff, but
yeah, I have to. I can book it. I've been invited to play the Coach House, which is right near my home, for several times now, but I just haven't been able to keep a band together long enough rehearse well enough good enough to go up on stage and do a great show.
Yeah.
For some reason, musicians, I guess they've always been flaky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in their nature. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's in their nature. I've been in a lot of bands and played a lot of music, and I think that there's the reason why there's not many musical geniuses is that they can be so flaky because, and also with bands, it's hard to get a group of guys together or girls that mesh well enough to all want to do the same thing and not get burned out. You know what I mean?
Yep, that's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And then everybody has to make a living too, so.
Yeah, that's true. Music doesn't always pay the bills.
Yeah, when I was a kid doing this, we played music every night and got paid for it.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, we played 3 years straight without a night off.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Now, who was that with?
Fender 4 Sons of Adam.
Wow. That's crazy. So you guys just put out like 45, right? Yeah. I need to track one of those down. I've heard the music, but I don't have it. That's really cool. Thank you, Randy, for being on the podcast today. Really had a good time talking to you. Is there anything else you want to tell the world while I got you?
Boy, do I ever have a lot to say.
Uh-oh.
We'll hold that for a future date.
Okay. Well, that sounds good.